Thanks for staying with us. Let's look at some economic matters. Now, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says President Cyril Ramaphosa's second term will focus on the country's economy. Now, Ramaphosa was re-elected as the party's president at the national conference at the weekend. Let's get reaction now from the business community. And we're speaking to Business Unity South Africa's non-executive director, Stavros Nicolaou, who joins us now, of course, via our video link. Thank you so much, Stavros, for your time. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana saying that President Cyril Ramaphosa's re-election is good for continuity when it comes to economic policies. What has been the reaction of the business community?
So, Bongi, look, we as business, we're more interested in how we're going to move the country forward, to be quite frank. What does business seek from any leadership? We seek an enabling environment, one that is going to give certainty and predictability. And I'm afraid we haven't had that in recent times. So I think we welcome President Ramaphosa's second term. Hopefully there will be an acceleration of the structural reform that he's embarked on. But ultimately what we seek as a business community is that enabling environment that I spoke about that will be conducive to economic growth, job creation, and most importantly, I feel we are a distracted nation. When you've got factions that you're dealing with in the political landscape, it's not good for any country because you become a distracted nation, so to speak. So we hope there's a settling down of the politics and that the whole country is able to rally behind leadership that is incorruptible, leadership that has got a clear direction, and leadership that is decisive. So really hoping that that is what we will get in the weeks and months that lie ahead.
And this has been the question for some, and they've said that for them it's just as important to have someone at the helm who's going to be driving this. But for the business community, is it about who is at the top, or is it about the policies of the party that also carve a clear path of what you've just spoken about as well, and how to achieve it?
It's really a combination of things. I mean, we've got, and this is it's going to be very cliched what I'm going to say here, right? We've got fairly good policies. However, when you're distracted, like I said, when you don't have a capable state, the implementation of the policies becomes the issue. And that's what investors seek. Investors want to know that you've got policies that are implemented and that you've got certainty and predictability. That's what investors seek, and we haven't had that, I'm afraid, in recent times. So that's what the business community, overseas investors will be looking at, and hopefully, President Ramaphosa's second term, he won by quite a wide margin, probably more than many were expecting. Hopefully, that is what we get out of the administration moving forward. Is that decisiveness, that predictability, and that certainty. But there's also another element for me. When you're a distracted nation, like I said earlier, there's a real risk that the social cohesion project in the country begins to fail. And many parts of society are polarized, and that in itself doesn't send investors a very good signal. You don't need a divided society and one where politicians come out every day swinging and throwing mud. We need a settling down of these politics, and hopefully that's what we will get, because investors have a look at all of these things and they say, well, capital's agnostic. They've got many choices in emerging markets to invest in. And unless we start giving them the right signals, the right certainty and predictability, I'm afraid we will not land those investments that we ought to be landing in our country.
Yeah, definitely a tough one. And when we look at the enabling environment, we've seen load shedding, rampant stages of load shedding. You're thinking about stage 6, at some point, and we're swinging in between stage 6, stage 4, stage 5 now, which also signals the trouble we are in. And now we're seeing the SANDF moving in there to try and deal with one part of this problem. Is the ANC coming out of its conference looking like there's really that much of a serious solution and the seriousness of the tackling of this particular issue, because it's also causing businesses to crumble?
You know, for me, look, we've got many competing priorities in our country, right? And global economies have been anemic during the COVID period. And in many respects, some of the economic metrics that we face in our country are no different to others abroad. But if I were to choose three of the key priorities or three of the key challenges we need to be confronting with absolute gusto in the coming few weeks and months, the three would be: number one, infrastructure, which is energy, the logistics and supply chain of the country, the ports, the rail, etc. You cannot hope to grow your economy unless you've got an infrastructure that can support those economic growth ambitions. The second thing is crime, safety and security, and also organized crime is a real problem in our country, and is putting investors off. You know, when we travel abroad as part of business delegations, we are hearing this repeatedly from the international community. So we need to address that with gusto. And then I think a third thing for me is we need certainty around policy and policy implementation. We need to walk the talk, and that equates to building a capable state. So those would be three of the priorities I would like to suggest and would like to see that President Ramaphosa and his team addresses in the coming weeks and months.
Especially because a capable state was featured very prominently in his political report, and saying that, they need to create an enabling environment. But let's see then what they say when they reconvene next month. Stavros, thank you so much for your time this evening. Do appreciate it. That was Business Unity South Africa's non-executive director, Stavros Nicolaou.